Ladies and gentlemen, live from East Lake, Ohio, right across the street from the Lake County Captains, it's the Cleveland Sports 360 Show with your host, LG. Tonight, LG's guest, Indians expert, Joe Monaco. Now, without any further ado, make some noise for your host, LG.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cleveland Sports 360 Show. Tonight's guest, as Kenyon told you already, Joe Monaco is joining us. We're going to get caught up on the Cleveland Indians winter meeting moves, what's been going on over the last couple of weeks with the tribe and how they're going to get ready. But first, we're going to recap the terrible thing we saw yesterday, the terrible waste of another Cleveland Browns season. Brandon Weeden has definitely lost his touch playing against a rookie quarterback that never started in the N.F.L., Joe. I mean, come on, man. The big excuse I get week in and week out about Brandon Weeden, LG, you're too hard on him. He's a rookie. Well, yesterday he faced a rookie that never started an NFL football game before in his life, man.
I tell you what, LG, it's watching Weeden. He's going through some struggles, everybody knows, and everybody's using an excuse as a rookie. Yeah, I mean, you can use that so long, though, but there's things that he just hasn't shown progressively and proven on as the season's been going on.
Well, one of the things he did improve on was throwing more interceptions, Joe. He's only one behind for the NFL lead. Drew Brees has that with 18 interceptions. Brandon Weeden now stands at 17 interceptions. The thing about Brees is he has 36 touchdown passes. You know, he doubled in touchdowns compared to interceptions, where Weeden has 17 interceptions and only 14 touchdowns. So the ratio between him and Brees is obviously different, but Brandon Weeden is going to do his best to take the top spot in throwing interceptions before this year is over. As you were talking before the show started this evening, and as Kenyon mentioned earlier, Weeden had a terrible day yesterday, and one of the problems you brought up, Joe, is how he focuses in on that key receiver when when Fletcher intercepted that pass, man.
That's correct. I mean, it's just that's one of the areas he has not improved as the season's been going on. Has just been locked in on one receiver. Whatever the play is called for, he's just locking him, following him all the way. And we saw a great camel angle yesterday from Fox, watching it from behind the linebacker when London Fletcher, I believe, picked him off. And it just he looked at his eyes. That's a linebacker's job, is read what the quarterback's eyes are doing. And if you can't, as a quarterback, look off your receivers, look off the defenders, it's going to be a hard day back there behind the offensive line.
You know, that's what I want to share with the audience. I shared with you earlier. You have to remember, Brandon Weeden spent most of his athletic life playing baseball. Brandon Weeden was a pitcher in baseball. And when a pitcher throws a baseball, he looks at the target. He doesn't take his eyes off the target. So most of his adult athletic life has been spent focusing on that target. Now, in baseball, what's the strike zone, Joe? How big are we talking, man?
It's a plate. It's like...
You know, there's a certain box, you
Yeah.
know, maybe it's 1 foot high by, I don't think it's quite a foot wide, whatever it is. You're focusing on that area, and that's
Sure.
where you're going to deliver the baseball, and that's what Brandon Weeden's been trained to do.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're taking a guy out of his comfort zone. You're going to say, look, you can't focus on your target to throw this pass. And obviously he has a problem focusing anyways because we're not seeing the touch. He missed Josh Gordon yesterday. He overthrew him by a good 15 yards. The guy was behind the defense. He could have took that easily in for a score if Weeden would have dropped the ball in there, man.
Correct. I mean, he's all year I've just been seeing him, following him. As I do follow the Browns, even though I'm out of town in Nashville, but it's just, I love the team and I watch them. But getting back to those plays yesterday, I mean, through the whole season, it's like when somebody's open or he's throwing balls behind, he's throwing them, overthrowing them, and he doesn't have that touch like Cousins does. Like as you can see on bootlegging yesterday, as another great play that should be run. It's not seen enough, but as you saw yesterday with Cousins, I mean, he adjusted his throws to throw over the defender or somebody's coming across that line and getting the ball out in the flats to the running back. Where Weeden, he just fires everything. There's not a soft touch. There's not a
he's got to find that little lob pass into the corner of the end zone. He's never been successful the entire 2012 season in 14 starts to have that nice little touch pass that you see so many successful quarterbacks. And you think we took a beating yesterday. I don't even want to know what's going to happen when we face Peyton Manning next week, man. Peyton Manning made it look easy yesterday for his Denver Broncos to get to 11 wins, beating the Baltimore Ravens. Peyton Manning has to be the MVP and the comeback player of the year all at once for 2012, man. How many guys would have thought Peyton Manning would be having the season he's having now after the 4 neck surgeries and the nerve damage, man?
Not too many were back in his corner thinking he'd be back this far, but that tells you how important a quarterback position is. And it's just, watching him getting and having a great, phenomenal year. I mean, you got to give kudos to him because he doesn't quit, but it's going to be a tough game Sunday.
Manning is going to really sit back there, and I was hoping that we'd see the Denver Broncos give him some time off and rest him up. Obviously, they clinched the AFC West. They got 11 wins already, the Denver Broncos. We got to face them next week. And, there's something about 5-9 that tastes a whole lot worse than 5-8, and especially when you think you had a chance to get to 500. The same people that were calling for Pat Shurmur's head earlier in the season were almost swayed. They almost got bamboozled by, we beat the frickin' Kansas City Chiefs and we beat the Oakland Raiders. Obviously, 2 of some of the worst football teams that are on the field this year, man. We can't win the game that we really need to win. And yesterday was a game we really needed to win, man, to put legitimacy behind this Cleveland Browns football game. Would you agree, Joe?
I totally agree, LG. I mean, if they would have won yesterday's game, that would have made some heads turn because they were playing well. I mean, they were playing in the first game against Pittsburgh. Defense and those turnovers won that game. Not so much on the offensive side, but then those last 2 games after that, Oakland and Kansas City, they're not any teams to write home about this year, and they're easy wins. But I believe that job, if they would have definitely would have won yesterday, you would have opened up some more chances for Shurmur to be here.
What about guys if RG3 played yesterday? What would the final score have been then?
I'm not so sure, Kenyon, because maybe our defense could have focused in a little bit better and stopped the run with RG3, where RG3 is a run-first kind of throw-second quarterback. I think what we saw yesterday was a Colt McCoy clone in Kirk Cousins, man. He played a game. He looked like Colt McCoy out there on the field, man. He was running out of the pocket. He ran all over the field, and he delivered the ball. And he delivered the ball with pinpoint accuracy, something we haven't seen. So I'm not really sure, Kenyon, if RG would have really ran the points up a lot more because the Browns' defense may have been better off had RG3 played. And unfortunately, we weren't going to get 100% RG3, even with his knee couldn't have possibly came back in 1 week's time. So we would have never got a 100% RG3, but maybe he wouldn't have ran the score up as high as Kirk Cousins did it because the guy did it with his arm yesterday. Let's go over how bad of a football team this Cleveland Browns team really is when you're playing a halfway decent football team. The Browns were completely outplayed yesterday by the Washington Redskins. They had 25 first downs. Cleveland had 13, man. That's almost double, Joe.
Yes.
They had 17 passing first downs. The Cleveland Browns had 8.
Double almost again.
That's more than double. Yep. Okay? They had 7 rushing first downs. The Cleveland Browns had 5. And how the Cleveland Browns had 5 rushing first downs, it's almost mind-boggling when we had 58 total yards on the ground. Trent Richardson's obviously either hurt or this guy's going to join the ever-growing list of Alabama running backs that came into the NFL that never found the success that they found under Nick Saban's program at Alabama, because there has been other running backs that came into the NFL out of Alabama that never found the success. It's really funny that you guys start, this guy got more touchdowns than Jim Brown. Well, Jim Brown in 1957 only played 12 games, Joe.
Yeah, well, that's a different ball game. It's different. That's
Jim Brown never had a game in 1957 where he only rushed for 28 yards. Jim Brown never had a game in 1957 where he only rushed for 42 yards, okay? Right. The Cleveland Browns in 1957 only had one football game where they didn't rush for over 100 yards in that game. Jim Brown won the NFL rushing title in his rookie season. Adrian Peterson has already got 1,812 yards or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Where you're talking, he's going to get to 2,000 yards this year. His goal was to break the 2,100 and something record held by, help me out, Kenyon. Who holds that record?
Eric Dickerson.
That's what I was going to think about, was Dickerson. He is going after that record. Trent Richardson has not broke 900 yards rushing in 14 football games. Jim Brown in 12 football games rushed for 942 yards. So sure, let's say that Trent Richardson has more touchdowns in his rookie season. The defense gives him the ball yesterday on the 4-yard line. If he doesn't get a touchdown, come on, man. You got to be kidding me. Yeah. But I don't think it should be the same. It should be like an asterisk, like these guys that hit more home runs on the steroids, man.
Yes. I mean,
you know, you're not comparing apples to apples here. We got 14 games, and Trent Richardson started all 14 games, ladies and gentlemen. These guys are trying to tell me, well, he didn't play in all 4. He started 14 football games this year, man. Is he hurt? Maybe. Should he be sitting down? Maybe. You can't tell me, Joe, we don't have a guy on the Cleveland Browns team that could get more than 28 yards rushing if, indeed, Trent Richardson's hurt.
Yeah, they could use, Montario Hardesty. He's been healthy all year, and
this is the healthiest year Hardesty's ever had.
Correct.
In the NFL.
Correct. And nothing against Trent. I know he's a rookie, but still, when you see a difference in the offensive line, when Hardesty's running, he's running hard through that hole. And Trent's dancing a couple of times here and there. And
half the time I see him being stopped by his own lineman he runs into the back of.
Yeah.
What's that all about, man?
I don't know. It's just a time
maybe he needs a different face mask. He can't see what's going on there, man.
I don't know. He just has. I mean, he's done well enough to under the circumstances. We won't really fully know if he's, like I said, he's healthy or enough.
Next year is going to be the year we're going to have to judge him.
Yes.
I mean, obviously he came in, he missed preseason, he had to get a knee injury. I'm not so sure the Cleveland Browns did the right thing by taking Trent Richardson as their first draft pick when they should have scouted this guy. They should have seen what his health is. They knew he had knee surgery immediately following the season last year in February. He had to have his knee scoped. I mean, how long is that knee going to last? How long is his career going to last? Who cares? He's a millionaire. He's got guaranteed money. But listen, we put Josh Cribbs in. He had one rush yesterday for 16 yards. Okay? Hand him the ball 2 more times. If he gets anywhere near that, he already passed Trent Richardson in rushing.
Correct.
We need a guy. You know what I'm saying about Trent Richardson right now? I'm not saying the guy sucks. I'm not saying he's a bust out.
No.
I'm saying right now he's a beast in short yardage situations. You saw him carry 4 guys into the end zone trying to bring him down. When you get him in that short yardage situation, and if you don't tackle him, he's going to move that pile. Let's just use Trent Richardson in short yardage situations, and let's get a guy in there that's capable of running and hitting that hole like Hardesty. And I'm not saying Hardesty's the answer. Where's Jackson at, Kenyon? How come we haven't seen him lately, man?
Well, he's been inactive.
But why?
I got a feeling it's something in that locker room. It has nothing to do with what's on the field. But
so Sherman doesn't like him.
No, from what I hear, he's a definite cancer in that locker room, and so he's been inactive for the majority of the season.
He probably voices his opinion about the head coach too much. Huh?
But I know we're about to go to break. But I just wanted to say this, man. We talk so much about these offensive players. Who's our offensive coordinator?
Brad Childress. Right?
I mean, think about it. Is it the players as much as it is the play calling and the person that's behind all that play calling?
Well, that's another question all in itself, and that's why I urge these people to come to their senses and don't fall for the malarkey that's been going around the past 2 weeks. Should Shermer stay? He won 2 games. He won 3 games in a row. No, Shermer definitely has to go. He doesn't have the mental capacity to go out there and compete at the high level that's required. I said it before, Joe. I'll say it again. He was 1-15 as an OC with the Rams his first year. He was 7-9 the second year, man. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that's 8 in 15 and 9 is 24, right? Mm-hmm. A third of the games he only won with Sam Bradford out there in St. Louis, okay? He comes in here last year. He finishes the year at 4-12. We rewarded a losing guy with a losing record to give him a head coaching job in the NFL. The guy was a frickin' tight ends coach most of his career. Mm-hmm. He got the offensive coordinator job in St. Louis. How, I don't know. He was a bust there, and so far he's been a bust here. You don't reward failure with a promotion.
That's correct. I mean,
nobody does that for me in Kenya.
Doesn't do it for me either. But anyways, it's just I would say that like I said, if they would have won Sunday yesterday, they definitely would have.
They would have turned some
heads around. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And I think they're watching him under the microscope now. So I mean, I just don't. I think his days are numbered.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break. Give us a call if you have questions, comments. You want to talk Cleveland Browns. Coming up after that is Cleveland Indians with Joe Monaco, my special guest. The number 216-672-4300. Again, that number is 216-672-4300. Pick up them phone lines. The phone lines are open. Thanks for joining the Cleveland Sports 360 show right here, streamingsportstalk.com. Don't forget, immediately following this show, Unsportsmanlike Conduct, we want to send a big shout-out to Kamal Rowell, who's homesick today, getting that flu everybody else is getting. We'll be right back with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cleveland Sports 360 show. We're talking Browns football. Unfortunately, we're not talking a Browns win. We wish we would have won. My guest this evening, Joe Monaco, all the way from Memphis, Tennessee, up here for the Christmas holidays, spending some time with his family. He's a big Cleveland sports fan. We're going to get back to the talk about these Cleveland Browns. Now, yesterday, Joe, it's interesting that even Kenyon brought up maybe this is a game we should have saw Colt McCoy in. Yet, when they talked to Pat Shurmur about it, he says he never even intended to try Colt McCoy in a football game against the Washington Redskins. What's your thought on that, man?
Yeah, it's just like I said. Then they wonder why when that starting quarterback gets hurt, and then all of a sudden they're not thinking ahead enough to say, well, what happens if he does, and what game plan will we go with our second string quarterback? Obviously he's in. Weeden's been a starter from the season day one.
He was given the job. He didn't win this job.
He didn't earn it.
He did not earn this job. He was handed this job. And as a very big-time professional football analysis guy who's been around the NFL for years and years and years said, you don't hand anybody a starting job in the NFL. It doesn't matter who that guy is.
That's correct. You have to earn every single rep. You have to earn every single play, and you have to earn, that chance to start. And it wasn't fair to Colt. He knows the system inside and out. But
and the players are a lot better this year. You got to know. We have a solid nucleus of a wide receiving group this year.
Oh, no doubt. I love the way that Little and Gordon has been progressing during this year. Since that break, man, Little has just turned it up.
Little is a beast, man. I wrote articles on the Cleveland Sports 360 website 1,000,000 times. Give Greg Little some time. LG's no dummy. I can spot talent when I see it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying Weeden's not have talent. He has a lot of talent. He doesn't have the talent required in the mental capacity to make it as a top. He's never going to be a Peyton Manning. And what really cracks me up is how many people try to compare him to Peyton Manning's rookie season, man. Sure, Manning didn't have a lot of wins in his rookie season, but he won a lot of awards in his rookie season. His football mentality is 10 times better than Brandon Weeden's is. His decision-making ability was 10 times better. He threw some interceptions, sure.
Yes.
But, man, they didn't get blown out like this.
You know what I think a lot of people were upset about this game is you win 3 games in a row, you get in the fans' curiosity, and if the Jets lose tonight to the Titans, the Cleveland Browns are 1 game behind the last seed in the wild card playoffs. 1 game behind.
If we would have won.
If we would have won,
right.
And it could have came down to that Pittsburgh Steelers game. You didn't play that game as if you were trying to fight for a playoff spot. That game was played nothing like a playoff game.
Yes.
No, unfortunately, man, you know what, Kenyon? Let's just get to the nuts and bolts of the whole operation. If you look at a guy like Kirk Cousins that came into this football game, his first NFL start ever, you would think this is a nervous wreck guy. He throws a bad, I'm not even going to call it a bad pass. The Cleveland defense did what they had to do. They tipped the ball, and it was an interception that T.J. Ward got his hands on and returned it all. The guy could have cracked under the pressure. No, he had the poise, he had the wherewithal to come back into that game, and he never missed a beat. Nope. If you look at how these teams line up and how they play and how organized their offenses look, compared to the Cleveland Browns, it's night and day, man. It's like a finely tuned machine compared to something that can't keep time, man.
Again, it goes, besides like in the first half, again, you don't blame any quarterback in a tip ball. It happens, but
unfortunately, it still goes as an interception for that quarterback. And I always said they need a stat. And it wasn't like the receiver tipped it. He didn't even get his hands on it. The Cleveland defense did it. But I'd like to see him change a stat. If you hit the guy in the hands and he doesn't catch it and it gets intercepted, that should not go against the quarterback. They'd never do it.
No.
But when a receiver gets hit in the hands, he should catch the football.
That's correct. And it's just like I said, the difference is the coaching, too. In the first half, the Browns were getting a couple breaks, and they capitalized on them. But in the second half, again, is where the difference is where your coaching needs to really, you'll see mark improvement is who makes the adjustments at halftime.
Yeah, and you got to have a coach that's willing to make some adjustments or that, Shermer doesn't have any experience, man.
No. Shanahan and especially his son, Kurt Shanahan, he was constantly, you saw him in the second half looking for different defensive alignments on the field and trying to match up his offense against it.
You look at the Cleveland Browns, and one thing you have to be able to do in the National Football League to be a successful team is convert on third downs, man. Mm-hmm. Our third down efficiency stinks, okay? We were 4 for 12 yesterday on third down efficiency. If you look all the way back through the game logs of every game we played this season, our third down efficiency, it never gets much better than this, man. It's around 30% or a little bit lower, and you're not going to get it done with that kind of. We were 0 for 2 on fourth down conversions yesterday.
Yeah, that's you got to make those. I mean,
if you're going to go for it, you can't blow it, man. You got to be able to make it. But you know what? We've been far enough into the season now with 14 games. We can make a little bit of a comparison. With the talent the Cleveland Browns have this year, going back and looking at Colt McCoy last year, we have far more talent. We have a better, solid offensive line. Greco's been in there doing a fine job. What's his name's got the blood clot situation. He doesn't play like
Pinkston.
Pinkston. And, Greco's really been a solid thing. Mitchell Schwartz has been doing a fantastic job.
Since day one, since he came out that first game.
Yeah, it's funny to see Alex Mack jumping a little bit earlier. He's the center. You wouldn't think the guy would ever make a bad move, but I guess Weeden's cadence leaves a little bit to be desired. He changes tones too much or something. But Joe Thomas the offensive line has given this quarterback, Brandon Weeden, nearly double the time that they've gave Colt McCoy last year, man.
He was running for his life last year.
But let's just take a comparison. McCoy he only played 13 games in 2011. He had a 5.9 average per pass, okay? Brandon Weeden's played 14 games this year, and he's got a 6.6, so it's 0.7 yards per pass better than Colt McCoy. That's the only statistic Brandon Weeden has that's better than Colt McCoy after 14 games, okay? Brandon Weeden has thrown, as we discussed earlier, 17 interceptions already and 14 touchdowns. When McCoy had 14 touchdowns last year in 13 games, only threw 11 interceptions, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's a little less. I mean, better to be that lower level, but it's just again, the coaching part of it is why do they? 21 yesterday's. With the totals that he had yesterday, he's got now 21 tip balls at the line.
Yeah, well, that was another thing Kenyon was all excited about, that we had a taller quarterback, that we weren't going to see these tip balls. We're going to have a guy that could throw it over the line.
Yeah, that really is starting to piss me off too. That the tip ball stuff, because that's showing you that his eyes are on one target. And that's why they're able to tip the ball. They know exactly when he's going to throw it just by looking at his eyes.
Yep. Yeah, and
that's a rookie. That's a rookie.
That's right.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins is a rookie too. That never
Well,
started.
Weeden has had a good game also, LG. Kirk Cousins had a good game. Weeden has had good games too.
And what games were good? Tell me about them.
I can't go. We won 3 games in a row. He had to do something good.
Yeah, but we beat Kansas City and we beat the Oakland Raiders.
And the Redskins can say the same thing. We beat the Cleveland Browns.
So you're putting the Cleveland Browns in the same class as the Oakland Raiders and
the record can only speak for itself.
Well, we're slightly better record than those two teams, Kenyon. But the Cleveland Browns, going back to McCoy, Weeden, McCoy had a 74.6 rating after his 13 games last year. Weeden only has 72.4 rating, okay? That's hardly to say that Brandon Weeden is a better quarterback. McCoy, his averages of touchdowns were better, 3% of the time, where Weeden's only 2.8% of the time, okay? And 3.4% of the time is an interception number, where McCoy was only 3. So every statistical advantage goes to Colt McCoy. It's time for Pat Shurmur to swallow his stupid pride for giving out a job to a guy that's totally unproven and say, maybe we're not doing the right thing, man. Let's see what Colt McCoy can do. We got 2 games left this season. Something about 7 and 9 is a little bit easier to swallow than 5 and 11, huh, Joe?
Yes,
I'm not saying McCoy can beat Peyton Manning. It's good. That guy is unbelievable this year, that Peyton Manning.
Yeah, Denver is going to whoop the Cleveland Browns.
Again,
you never know they got to play them. But
I'm talking about this is going to be abusing the corners.
And we don't do well when we go to Denver every time.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about that for one. We got 1 minute before the break. Let's touch on that for a minute. Here's a guy that has trouble throwing the football without oversailing his receivers. What's going to happen to Brandon Weeden? You know from baseball in the Rockies, and you can't, your breaking ball breaks 3 more feet up there in the high altitude, man. Yeah. What's going to happen when Brandon Weeden is trying to hit his receivers in the Mile High Stadium, man?
that ball's going to float. It's going to wail away on him. It's going to fly off on him.
It may not stay in the stadium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Somebody's going to have to calm him down, man, before he gets to the mile high. They better leave tomorrow and get there by Wednesday to give him a few days to get
acclimated,
acquainted with the air, man. Because unless he ever pitched, well, the Yankees definitely never, the minor league team probably never went to Denver to play any baseball, huh?
No, I probably don't think they have.
And then he did some time with the Dodgers organization out there in L.A., too, so I'm not so sure if he has any baseball experience in the mile-high city. But
yeah.
I tell you right now, I thought about that already. If this guy's sailing the ball over people's heads here, where we're almost at, whatever we are above sea level, what's going to happen when he gets up into the mountains?
Rocky Mountain High, huh?
Oh, my God, we're in for a real treat. Kenyon's completely right, man. I mean, I think we're going to be slaughtered next week. Let's hope not. Let's hope we can make a competitive game. We don't want to fall asleep after the first
5-11, brother.
Yeah,
5-11. That's what your prediction is.
That's my prediction.
Well, I don't know, man. This Cleveland Browns team always gets up to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I tell you right now, if the Steelers have a way to get into the playoffs, it would be a wonderful thing to see the Cleveland Browns play spoiler. Don't you think, Kenyon?
Yeah, and I want to say shout out to Josh Cribbs for running into the brick wall about 4 or 5 times in that game. I'm quite sure he remembered that last game.
Hey, we're going to take a short break here on the Cleveland Sports 360 show so Josh Cribbs can get his head together after hitting it off the brick wall a couple of times. We'll be right back with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Our guest tonight, Joe Monaco, right here, streamingsportstalk.com. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cleveland Sports 360 show. If you missed the first 2 segments of the show, this is Joe Monaco, our special guest. We've been recapping the Browns game and how much we think Brandon Weeden sucks. And Brandon Weeden does suck as the Cleveland Browns quarterback. There's absolutely, unequivocally, no doubt that Brandon Weeden can't put it on the line when it counts, and that man sucks. I know I talked to his brother earlier in the year. He's a cool guy, the brother. We should have got the brother to play quarterback. He could run over people, I have a feeling, where Brandon Weeden wants to fall down when people are running towards him. We're going to switch gears here on the Cleveland Sports 360 show right here on streamingsportstalk.com. Joe Monaco is a diehard Cleveland Indians fan, and he knows what's going on. Joe, Is there anything to be excited about for the Tribe coming up this spring, man? I mean, we made some moves last week. Tell us about it, man.
Well, I love that finally they did something there in the winter meetings instead of like just crunching at a necessity moment. They got back, like we were all bummed out when we lost in the Jimenez trade, when we lost Alex White and Drew Pomeranz, two of our future up-and-coming, pitchers in the starting rotation. But we got this.
Just tell me real quick, because our viewers always try to make comparisons. What has White and the other guy done since they've been out there in the Rockies, man?
They've been called up. I mean, that's a tricky place to play.
Right.
Again, we were just talking about the last segment about the Rocky Mountain air and everything there, and how the ball moves.
Your breaking ball breaks 3 more feet than you think it's gonna.
That's I don't know. I mean, it's hard
and that led to some of the Jimenez mechanical problems too, is what I understood.
Probably messed him up, and he's trying to get out of the slump that he's been, up there. But I mean, we got this Trevor Bauer kid out of this trade. I think this kid. I think there were a lot of Arizona fans that were upset when the trade was made. I think that Arizona, the Diamondbacks, got fleeced. This kid is 21 years old. He's got a 4-seamer. He throws at 97 miles an hour. There's 2 seamers between 91 and 93, and he's got like tons of break and different off-speed pitches. I like the trade in that aspect because we only did was trade Chu, Sip, and Lars Anderson. They went Sip and Lars
getting rid of Sip out of Cleveland made LG's day, man. I wrote an article once on the Cleveland Sports 360 site. It said, "Read my lips, Manny Acta. No more Sip."
I tell you what, in his first year, Tony's a nice guy and everything.
Oh, very nice guy. But a nice guy doesn't get it done, man.
Yeah.
I was there on the Saturday night right after Jim Thome came back. Okay, Jim's first night was Friday night. We were there on Saturday night. We're winning the game. Everything looked pretty cool. We're walking. I said, you know what? Let's beat the crowd because it looks like we. Guess who they bring into the game? Tony Sepp. Oh, my goodness. I didn't even make it to the car, Joe, before we were already down on the count, man.
Well, like I said, his first year he pitched well, and then the last couple of years he just gives.
So you're excited about this new pitcher, man?
Oh yes, I don't want to hear all our stuff that that he brings pre-game or whatever. I mean, everybody has their own way to prepare themselves for the game.
Absolutely, man.
And I think Terry Francona, Tito will see what's not right or whatever, and he'll just talk to him about it and respect him. But
well, when you say the pre-game, give us a little bit of a clue. The viewers may not know. What do you mean by that?
Well, he does a lot of stuff. I mean, some of the stuff that we've been picking up on reports that he throws to warm up his arm, and you don't hardly see pitchers do it. Maybe back in the days, Bob Feller used to do it, and pitchers like that, where they would throw from the outfield all the way back in the home plate if you were making a throw out the plate, just to warm up, or he'd warm up with his outfield throwing across the outfield, But it just.
What kind of innings has this kid given the Diamondbacks, man?
Well, he has. I remember from what I read from him, he has gone. When they drafted him out of UCLA, he was in the 2011 draft. He was in the first round a 3rd pick, and then I think 4 picks later the Indians picked up Lindor in that same draft. But going back to Trevor though, he came across. And he's going to be I believe he will be at 21 years old. I mean, he came across and he pitched at being out 1 year out of base, coming in baseball in Double-A last year and Triple-A, and the Diamondbacks had him back at called up in September, and I believe he had an injury or something and some muscle pull, and he didn't pitch well, but. To come up that far, that soon, the kid's got to have a world of talent.
He's got potential, man.
Yeah,
That's what we need, some potential. And the Tribe pitching, the starting rotation is in dire shape, man. I mean, who do we really got that we can count on, man?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you got Masterson.
He was shaky last year.
He was not.
Now, I thought Boston really had some interest in Justin Masterson in this offseason.
They did, but I don't know if that's still the case. But if I was the Indians, I would not trade Justin Masterson unless they're floored with a trade.
No, because who we got left after that?
I mean, you can't. Yeah.
I mean, we ain't going to have what's his name that we don't know his name. What's his real name?
Hernandez.
Yeah,
Carmona
Hernandez.
He got signed by Miami, I believe.
Right. So we couldn't count on him, and after what we saw from him last year, do we even want to count on him again? No. Okay?
No.
But tell me about this kid that came in. He's going to be the first baseman, maybe.
Well, they picked up Mark Reynolds. He played with Baltimore last year, had 23 home runs.
And what, 200 and something strikeouts?
Yeah.
Like 2 million.
Yeah, he's had some major strikeouts. And it's just seeing him to be able to get him. I remember 2 years ago when he played with Arizona, he had 44 home runs and 100 RBIs.
Well, 203 strikeouts don't bother LG that bad, because you know what I say, Joe? You ain't going to hit it if you don't swing at it, right?
That's one thing I can't
How many times
watching.
we see Santana look at it and it goes right past him, man?
Yeah.
Take a swing at it, for God's sake.
That's what I was always taught in baseball when I was playing baseball. I says, you never know if you're going to be able to hit it if you don't swing at it, and you don't. I just can't stand.
Now, what kind of
strikes.
defense is this guy going to be capable of providing for us on the corner there, man?
At first base? I think he'll be above average.
Better than Kochman?
I think Casey played great last year. Again, his hitting
defensively.
was bad. Yeah,
defensively.
Yes.
But don't forget, he had a great hitting year down in Tampa Bay before we got him.
Correct. Yeah.
Sometimes these guys get a little streaky. I liked his defense at first base, Don.
Yeah.
It was hard to get the ball past that guy.
He was great at first base, but I think Reynolds will be a good acquisition for them. And I believe that if, like I said, him and this kid that they picked up, another kid that's been Cincinnati starting center fielder, Drew Stubbs.
Yeah, because we definitely need.
Man, they're going to be some of those windmills blowing off there by. They're going to feel it all the way out the Great Lakes Science Center, man, from Progressive Field, man.
What about the situation of getting rid of Chu? Are we going to miss his arm in right field or what?
Yes, I would believe his arm. If they could pick up, again, it's a big if, but if they can get Nick Swisher here, his numbers are comparable to what.
Does he got the rocket for the arm?
Well, here's what I would do. Here's how I would reset this. I would move Brantley to left.
Which is his natural position.
Excuse me. I would check that back. Let me say this again. I keep Brantley at center. I'd move Stubbs to right field because I think he's got the better arm. And if they get Nick Swisher or Cody Ross, I'd put him in left field.
Yeah, Brantley looked really good last year, and he was a very, very productive guy with the bat too.
Oh, he had a great year, I think, last year. I mean, he played great defense. He could steal bases, and that's the thing with Drew Stubbs. He can steal bases. He had 33 stolen bases last year, and he's a good defensive player. But again, I think the Indians would be okay if they could shift him to right and move Brantley to keep him at center, and then whoever they get for left field, either Cody Ross or. Maybe if we get blessed and get a Swisher here, I mean, that would be a great outfield.
Now, Joe, I have to be honest with you, man. I'm a little bit behind on the Tribe, and that's why we brought you in this evening to help me out a little bit, because I've been so focused on football, with all the different teams, and we're coming down to playoff time and what's going on here, what's going on there. What is going to happen with Travis Hafner, man?
Well, the Indians... I don't know if Antonetti's going to keep a door open with him. There might be a possibility if they can get him at a lower price range.
Yeah, because $13 million is not going to cut the mustard.
No,
right?
no.
And I doubt that anybody's out there with an open checkbook to say, "Here you go, Travis. We're going to give you $13 million." Do you?
No, and especially unfortunately as many times as Pronk has been hurt in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean. I think there could be a possibility to bring him back and put him on the bench. Or switch him out of DH. But I believe the Indians aren't done yet. I believe there's a good possibility by spring training that ACAB Asdrubal could be traded.
Man, I don't want to see that move.
No, I don't want to see it. But you got.
I like the up the middle defense between Asdrubal Cabrera and Jason Kipnis. Man, I mean Kipnis was a little bit streaky. He made a couple stupid errors last year. Hopefully, he's not going to have the same thing. Defensive errors, I'm talking. Remember the one ball went right between his legs. You don't see that every day. And his bat was a little streaky, but I think he's going to come out of it. But having him and Cabrera, there was a chemistry there, and it was almost like the days of Vizquel and Carlos Baegra back in there, huh?
Yeah, I believe having Asdrubal. I mean, last year wasn't his best year.
No, but he was no slouch.
But there was times that he just played. He made some mental mistakes, some errors and stuff that you don't usually see him make on a simple plays. But
right. But don't forget the amount of time he plays too. I mean,
true.
And he's an Iron Man.
Yep, and also he's a 2-time All-Star. So
absolutely, man. I don't want to see Asdrubal Cabrera get traded. I mean, who would you bring in to replace a guy like that, man?
Well, right now
there's got this kid over here at the Lake County Captain's Stadium.
Lindor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he ready?
Some scouts are saying he's ready, but I don't know yet. I don't know.
This kid's supposed to be something else, huh?
Yeah, he's out of New York City, I believe, and he's been a great pick for the Indians because he's been showing them a lot of promise. From what the scouts, some of the scouts.
How old
are
is he? Like he ain't even 20 years old yet, is he?
No.
So I mean, but I don't.
He's a shortstop for the future, and they got Mike Avias that they picked up in the trade. I believe for Toronto when they traded to Toronto.
He's no Asdrubal Cabrera, though.
No, but he could start. He played with Boston, and Tito Francona, has coached him, and he could start at shortstop.
Okay, man. So we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna talk some more Tribe baseball. Maybe some thoughts for next week's Browns game against the Peyton Manning. I wish we were playing Eli Manning next week instead of Peyton Manning, but that's a whole nother conversation. We'll be back with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Our special guest this evening, Joe Monaco, all the way from Memphis, Tennessee, up here visiting family and friends for the holiday season. Merry Christmas, everybody. That's coming up next week. Give everybody a hug, and really, this is no time to take anybody for granted. You've seen the tragedies that happened in the world last Friday, and it's just terrible. We'll be back with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show right here on StreamingSportsTalk.com. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Our special guest tonight, Joe Monaco. We're talking Indians baseball, Indians moves, Indians winter meetings. Hey, you got to be excited with Francona coming in this year. What kind of an impact do you think he's seriously going to make with the Cleveland Indians, man?
I'll tell you what, LG, I think thinking about this, when we were all going through talking about this, there's no way Francona's going to come to Cleveland, and there's no way that, but I always had this feeling that he would.
The only thing I don't like about the entire deal is how they put a security blanket in Francona's contract that if Antonetti or Shapiro leaves, he can go.
Yeah, I don't know all the
What was this, a security blanket for the Indians front office? They're using Terry Francona as a hostage. If they get fired, then Francona could walk away from the Tribe and walk away from his contract. What's that all about, man?
I don't understand that. There's all these little options or clauses in his contract, and I believe I've heard that before. Where
very seldom do you hear where if the general manager or the vice president gets fired.
Yeah, that's true. And I tell you,
then I'm out of here.
Yeah. And I could say this: I believe those two Shapiro and Antonetti are the main reason why Francona's here. I mean, Terry was back here.
I was surprised to hear that, but I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Terry was back here in early, in the system, in the Indians minor league system,
right.
And they were all two guys, Shapiro and Anthony, were coming up. And get back to your question, what he's going to bring to Cleveland? I believe he's going to bring a winning atmosphere, and the clubhouse is going to be. They're going to all want to play for him, and I believe that when we haven't had a World Series manager since Boudreaux, 1948. We have not had a winning manager. We've always brought people up through the minor leagues.
One thing, Francona had disposable income out there in Boston, though.
Yeah, it's
and we got the Dolans here, man.
Yeah.
If you take a chunk of the payroll that the Boston people spend on baseball players, and you look at the percentage difference that the Cleveland Indians spend on these baseball players, obviously there's a certain handcuffedness that's going to be behind Terry Francona too. So we're probably about what, Joe? Theoretically, maybe a quarter of what and not quite a quarter, but we're a little more than a quarter of what was their payroll when Francona was there? It was over 180 million.
Yeah,
right?
It was over that. I mean, that's what those guys that got cut last year, like Gonzalez and Beckett and Carl Crawford. Those guys got cut. That cut a lot of salary for them.
So if you're paying out 180 million compared to 48 million, what can Francona do, man?
Obviously, his hands are tied. It just seems like they're going to go through this minor league system, and I mean, all the baseball fans, all the Cleveland Indians fans are waiting for that signing for once Dolans can come out and dish some money. I'm glad they didn't spend that money for Victorino, though, because I don't think he was worth that kind of money. I would rather have Nick Swisher, and I think that's why the Indians didn't go eventually with Uke, where there were some rumors out. There was 2 years, $18 million for 2 years, but they opted to go with this again with the younger player and gone with probably where money matters and the numbers count is $6 million for 1 year with I don't know if he has an option or not.
Hey Joe, I got to ask you, man.
Yes, Kenny.
Grady Sizemore.
Uh-huh.
I mean, rumors is that he may miss another season.
Correct.
Could you tell the fans and people that may want to know a little bit about Grady? Will he be back next year? Do you hear anything?
I haven't heard anything yet. There's always a door possibility. I think, like I said, Kenny, Chris Antonetti and the Indian organizations always love Grady Sizemore. If they can see, I guess, that he has come back and beat this health bug that he's had for the last couple of years and he's completely healthy, they could bring him in at a lower price. But, they're not going to spend the money, obviously, that they did last year and spend another $5 million on him. I don't see that happening. But I do see them signing Grady at a lower price if he's healthy. And I don't know, like I say, what I'm hearing right now that he is, and again, this could all be subject to change on one's health, but that he may not play this whole upcoming season. So it's out there. Maybe.
Well, then, if that's the case, Joe, I would have to say Grady Sizemore's Major League Baseball career is just about finished.
Pretty much. I mean, unless somebody wants to take a chance and gamble and he's willing to go to a AAA to rehab and try with someone
Maybe
else.
he could be like a situational player, man.
Yeah.
He's never going to be an everyday
or
full-time player again, is he?
Like I said, he's taken a lot of beating. It made his body get older by these injuries. I mean, he's had some microfracture surgeries.
There's something wrong with his bones, man. It just didn't hold up. I mean, he's a young guy. He was in great shape. He looked good out there on the field.
Steroids?
Did
I say that?
Well, somebody did. So you think somebody could pick him up, or do you think he's going to sit out the entire 2013 season, man?
I don't think he
That's
wants
2
to,
years of baseball.
I don't think he wants to sit out. I think he's probably trying to do the best he can to get back and rehabbed or what injury he has come from, and back from, and being able to get back at least to be signed by somebody. Maybe they don't want to sign him yet. Maybe he be ready by midway through the season or early part of the baseball season. Maybe somebody will pick him up. Maybe the Indians might sign him and keep him as a bench player and play him at DH. I mean, they don't want to wear him out. He's obviously ain't going to be able to play center field no more because he's getting to be fragile because it's just like the situation with Prong.
It's just another typical Cleveland sports. What do you call it? It's travesty. I mean, it's
Yeah.
how many travesties in Cleveland sports have we lived through? Something always happens, man. We get a big-time player. Like you said in the break, he's a 5-tool player. Explain what you mean by that, Joe.
Well, he hits for average. I mean, when you saw Grady's averages, his averages were like 280, 293, close to 300. He hits for he can jack the ball out. He has got power. He can steal bases. Plays great defense, and he's just just that kind of a player. I mean, you don't see too many of them. There are out there in baseball, sure, but have we seen too many players like that in a Cleveland uniform? No, maybe Kenny Lofton.
A long time.
Kenny Lofton. I mean, he was in the '90s my favorite ball player.
Absolutely, man. But you go back to the team. There was a lot of talent on those teams too. But Lofton definitely was the guy that got excuse the pun, got the ball rolling. I mean, he was a base stealer. He was a great defensive center fielder. He could hit for average himself. I mean, he was
hit home runs.
He was a phenomenal player, and he brought a lot of excitement for a lot of years. But I mean, we had some great guys. Vizquel, we had Baerga, then we had Roberto Alomar, Sandy Alomar, all those kind of players that were here that gelled together and had that chemistry. Man, it was a phenomenal day. We went to the World Series in '97, right? I mean,
95, 97.
95, 97. 2 big trips. And that was the first I've ever seen it in my lifetime, man.
Me too. I mean, it was great seeing it. Great. I mean, there was one more game that was great seeing the World Series, but it was my best game that I've seen. I was at Lenny Barker.
The perfect game.
The perfect game.
Yeah.
And that was by. I mean, I would love to see us win a championship, of course, but that was a great game that I didn't even nobody knew what was going on, and we were how those things were working out. I mean, it was like back in 1981, and my uncle and I decided to go to a game one night, and it happened to be that game.
Yeah, you certainly didn't need a ticket in advance in those days.
No, you were back in
that old
Municipal
Cleveland Municipal Stadium and sit just about anywhere you wanted. The last, I think I was at the last game I ever played with the Texas Rangers and Nolan Ryan. I was at that game. I took my 2 daughters to see the last game ever played by the Indians at the Municipal Stadium.
That's '93.
Yeah. And a fan ran on the field and ran right up behind Nolan Ryan before the security got him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he got a little bit startled. Yeah. But what do you, I got to go back to the starting pitching rotation. We got a couple minutes left here tonight. And how are we going to get a starting pitching rotation going, Joe, that we can depend on? What do we need to do to fix that, man?
Well, I believe that, like I said, Justin Masterson didn't have he had a mixed up year last year. I think, like we were talking about earlier, about Jimenez. I mean, there were some signs of him having some great games.
Jimenez is almost on a cliff, and he could go either way, and it's hard to decide what do you do with a guy like him, because when he's on,
you saw
it
last year when he faced Detroit. It's like he owned Detroit. I mean, he played great last year. I believe that whoever's the pitching coach, and I believe Francona and some the pitching coach has gone down to the Dominican Republic to watch him to particularly pitch, and so far from what I've heard, they've been impressed down there at Winter Ball. He's been pitching good. So, I mean, if you can get Masterson and Jimenez on the top of your rotation, and again, you got another if, because Carrasco is coming back from Tommy John surgery.
Right, we don't know what he's going to bring.
Right, and if he's back, you have another, if he's back the way he was pitching like before he got hurt, I mean, you've got another great potential pitcher, because he was the only pitcher left out of that Cliff Lee deal, the prospects that was only left that was good. But going to the 4th and 5th spot, I believe that the Indians still need to get a veteran pitcher. Either get Aaron Harang or Chris Capiano, or Edwin Jackson's out there, or Liriano's out there. I don't know what Liriano could do, but Edwin Jackson pitched well for the Nats last year, and I would believe that would help or bring up, or solidify the starting rotation a little bit. And at the 5th spot, you got McAllister or you got Bauer.
What did you think of McAllister? I mean, he came up and he pitched some decent games. And who was the other young pitcher we brought up near the end of the season last year?
Gomez.
Well, Gomez, he's another guy. But there was one more guy, man, besides McAllister. What the heck?
Corey Kluber?
Yeah, Kluber. Well, Kluber.
Yeah.
What did you think of him, man?
From the times I've seen him pitch, he's got potential, but I don't know if he's ready or not yet.
Okay.
It's hard to say. I mean, there's another kid, Cody Allen, too. So, I mean, he was in the bullpen, I believe. But I believe the Indians' bullpen, if they don't trade Perez or Pistano away,
they got to keep Vinny Pistano, man.
Yeah.
This guy is the best setup man in all of baseball. And
I agree.
He's up for some money, man.
Yes, and I'll tell you what.
And they better pay him.
Oh, yeah, because he'll be
Vinny,
booking.
if you're watching the show,
yo,
get
Vinny,
out there
stay
and get
here.
your money, man.
But
We got to give Vinny Pistano some cash because this guy is well deserving.
Yeah, he's got.
He was an Iron Man last year.
He won the Bob Feller Award. Just a couple of days ago, I believe.
The guy's phenomenal. He's an unbelievable setup man, and I don't think Chris Perez could have had the success he had with anybody but Vinny Pistano.
Oh yeah, Vinny was setting the tables for him, man, and it was great. I just hope that bullpen can stay intact because this other two guys that we got from Arizona in the return for Sip and Lars Anderson were Brian Shaw, who could throw 97 miles an hour, and Mike Alpers, who throws 96 miles an hour. Those are two great additions to the bullpen, and I believe if they just keep the bullpen from the middle relief all the way up to the back end of the bullpen, it's got to be one of the best in baseball, if not the best, if they stay healthy.
Well, there you have it, folks. Right from Joe Monaco's mouth to your ears. What the Cleveland Indians have been working on, some of the moves they made. We want to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, whatever religious holidays you do celebrate. But Merry Christmas to one and all from all of us here at StreamingSportsTalk.com, and the whole staff of the Cleveland Sports 360 show wishes you and your loved ones a very Merry Christmas. Get down on your knees, pray, ask God to please settle down the violence that's been taking place in the United States. I don't know if you people heard about it, but last night down in San Antonio, Texas, we had another crazy guy shooting up a movie theater parking lot, and a couple of people got hit with bullets. Unfortunately, they're burying young people today in Connecticut. It's been a tragic, tragic weekend, and to think that Fletcher's family got abused down there at the Cleveland Browns Stadium only gave the Cleveland Browns, the city of Cleveland, I should say, a black eye. Just a few bad apples. I'm sure the Fletchers didn't keep their mouth shut either. 3 of them got arrested after the Cleveland Browns game. But please, have a safe and joyful holiday season. We'll see you back after the New Year's with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Joe, thank you for joining us,
Thanks,
man.
LG. Merry
Stay
Christmas.
safe. Merry Christmas to you. Kenyon Johnson, Merry Christmas, buddy.
Merry Christmas, Ken.
Happy birthday, Kenyon Johnson.
Thank you, brother.
Happy birthday.
Born Christmas Day himself. Have a very Merry Christmas and give your loved ones all an extra hug this season. We'll see you next time after the New Year with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. Don't forget to join us December 30th, the last bash of the regular season for the Cleveland Browns against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sam Ritigliano, our special guest at the Captain's Club over here on Vine Street. Kenyon, please read that address to our viewers.
For Captain's Club is 34820 Vine Street, Eastlake, Ohio, 44095.
We're going to be there with Sam. Sam should get there around 11:30 a.m. If you got something you want signed, please bring it with you. We'll start the live broadcast at 12. We go to 5. You can't bother Sam during the Browns game. He's got to chart the game for his post-game show. We'll see you next year with more of the Cleveland Sports 360 show. God bless everybody, and Happy New Year.